Craft is a brand that is better known for triathlons, but over the last few years, they've been sneaking into the running space and have put together some pretty solid shoes. Today, we're going to be talking about one of their road models, the Craft Nordlite Tempo. What's up, everybody? I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod. You're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Now, like I said, today we're reviewing the Craft Nordlite Tempo, but if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below, so feel free to jump around to the various parts of the review. But if you do so, I would sure appreciate if you come back and watch the full thing when you get a second, as I put a lot of time and effort into these. And if you've been a viewer for a while, but you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, please consider doing so today and turning on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video, which is typically Monday through Friday. Before we get into any of the details of the shoe, some quick disclaimers and disclosures are that I did receive the shoe from Craft for the purpose of review. That being said, I'm not paid, I'm not given any talk tracks, talking points, no one gets to watch the videos beforehand. In fact, I'm not actually obligated to include the shoes in any specific content or videos. All thoughts are entirely my own. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the intended use of the shoe. The intended use of the shoe is right there in the name, the Nordlite Tempo. So this is what I would consider probably like an up-tempo trainer, sometimes referred to as like lightweight trainers or lightweight daily trainers. But as you can see, again, with the name Tempo, these shoes are typically going to be better suited for slightly faster paces, but have the versatility to be able to be used for kind of some daily miles as well. As such, that's how we're going to be evaluating the shoe today. Now, from a price standpoint, the shoe comes in at $160, which is fairly on point for the category. I feel like most lightweight trainers or up-tempo trainers fit between like $140 and $160. So it's on the higher end of that, but when you look at kind of daily trainers and the versatility of these types of shoes, I do feel like $160 is still fair value. Then moving to the specs, from a weight standpoint, it comes in at 8.9 ounces, which is 254 grams. And then from a stack standpoint, you have 40 in the heel, 34 in the forefoot for a 6mm heel to toe drop. Now moving to the fit of the shoe, I feel like the shoe fits true to size lengthwise, but as far as width of the shoe, I will say that I believe that the shoe fits wide throughout. And I don't know if I'd even call this like wide foot friendly, but more so actively wide. It is worth noting though that Craft actually did a new last for this whole new line of shoes in 2025. And so it is narrower. If you've run in Craft shoes in previous years, it's going to be narrow overall, but I do believe it still fits wide when compared to the rest of the market. Now moving to the upper, you have a woven aero mesh upper with TPU overlays. So you can kind of see there's like a synthetic weave there. You can see the threads running throughout, reinforcing that upper. And then you have the TPU overlays there in the toe cap, on the laces, as well as kind of with the logo there on the side. Despite being a wide fitting shoe, the shoe does have a fully gusseted tongue, which makes the lockdown very, very nice and actually capable. So I don't have like an actively wide foot. I would say I have a pretty standard width foot, and I didn't have any issues slipping or sliding around in this shoe. I think part of that comes down to the fact that there is kind of that cushion strip there in the heel. So you can get good heel lockdown. I did not need the runner's knot. The gusseted tongue keeps you in place in that midfoot, and I didn't have to cinch down like crazy. It's just going to be a more high volume overall shoe, which is going to be nice. So again, if you're narrow footed, I probably would stay away from this shoe. If you are wide footed, it's probably going to be accommodating for you, or it's going to fit right, I should say. And if you're standard foot, you'll maybe have a little bit of extra room, but I don't think you'll have any issues slipping or sliding around. Now the aero mesh upper as a whole is very, very breathable, very, very comfortable. The one thing I will say is I did feel like the ankle collar came up a little bit more than I was kind of used to, but it didn't cause any irritation or rubbing there in the heel and Achilles area at all. Now moving to the midsole, you have the CR Foam Pro, which CR Foam in previous models was just a super critical, I'm not sure if it was TPU, TPEE, ATPU, EVA, anything like that, but it was a super critical foam. CR Foam tends to be a little bit on the firmer side, but this CR Foam Pro, still while being a little bit firmer, actually has 15% PIBA blended into it. So you do have a PIBA blended supercritical midsole, which again, that along with the name should tell you that the shoe is meant for slightly faster paces, and that is true. While it's maybe not the first shoe that I would reach for you know, my races or my fastest workouts, I do think that there's some really good pace versatility here, and there's some good pop and pickup in the shoe where it felt very comfortable at interval paces, and it felt really nice in that tempo threshold zone as well. As far as an overall sensation underfoot, I'm not gonna say it's like super squishy. In fact, I would say it's soft and supportive, yet has good energy return. It is on the firmer side of foam, so if you're used to that squishy, bouncy PIBA, this is going to feel very, very firm overall, and it reminds me of DNA Flash V2 in the Hyperion 2 from last year, which I very much enjoyed. One thing to note though is that the 8.9 ounces in the shoe is not really like super lightweight compared to a lot of other up-tempo or lightweight trainers. And so typically for me, when I get a firmness like this kind of firm foam, so long as the shoe is very, very lightweight, it works out really well for me because I'm more biased towards the weight of a shoe. I do like it because it is supportive, it is stable, like the firmness of this foam makes a very, very stable overall base, but I would like to either get a little more squish personally, maybe a little softer foam, or losing a little bit of weight in the shoe, maybe going a slightly lower stack for a little bit more of that ground feel and pop off the ground. But it is very versatile in that sense. I think the average runner isn't going to like this shoe for daily miles just because the firmness of that foam may fatigue their feet if that's not something that they're used to, if you like a little bit more plush. But for me, I don't really mind it that much. I actually really enjoyed the shoes and felt fairly quick in the shoes as well. Moving to the outsole, you have a hyper grip outsole is what they call it. And I think for the most part, it does a good job. I think that, it's got kind of that micro pattern in there. It maybe is a little bit hard to see, but you can see it there with that kind of sheen or shine. And then you have decent overall coverage in the shoe. So those high traction areas, even the heel there, if you're like a big heel striker, is going to be covered for the most part. So, I think that's going to add some good durability. I also think that the large pieces do add some firmness overall or structure the same way that like a nylon plate might to a shoe. But for the most part, the grip was good. I don't know if I'd say that it was like amazing. It wasn't something that like really, really stood out to me. But at the same time, I never really had any issues with the grip at all, whether that was on the road or on the treadmill or wherever it may be. Now, as far as who's this shoe for, honestly, this shoe, I mean, wide-footed runners is one. Obviously, if you are looking for a racing shoe and you're a fairly new runner or maybe a little bit heavier runner, you're not ready to take on like a plated shoe, having 40 millimeters in the heel, you're going to get plenty of cushion and support underfoot. If you're a larger runner, you're going to be able to compress this foam and probably get some really good bounce and rebound in this shoe. And so people who are looking for good cushion and support, something that's not squishy, but something that is responsive, that they can race in, that won't be harsh because it's not plated or anything like that. Like, I think this could be a really, really good option from that standpoint. I think someone who likes maybe a slightly firmer daily trainer, there's not a lot of firmer daily trainers out there that have like some decent weight and responsiveness. A lot of them feel like if they're firmer foams, they feel kind of dead. And so this could be a really good option if you just want something with a little bit more life underfoot as well, and you don't like kind of the super overly squishy options out there on the market. Now, overall, I think it's a really, really solid shoe. I thought they did a really good job on the construction. Like, it's noticeable quality. I really, really like the upper. I feel like the shoe has good bounce. And so really, as with all shoes, it comes down to preference, but those are kind of the two main groups where I might actively suggest this shoe or that they consider this shoe because I think it fits those uses really, really well. Now, just some final thoughts. Craft coming in hot with a couple of models. We should have the there it is, the Kype Pro review probably sometime next week. I'm finishing up review miles on those over the next week or two. And then I have a couple of other shoes like the Nordlite Ultras, which are kind of their road to trail shoe. And then these just came in actually yesterday as well, the Pure Trail Pros. So we'll be reviewing a number of craft shoes. Obviously with trail shoes, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know that oftentimes I'll just get a couple of runs in the shoe and then do more of a first thoughts just because I'm not putting in a ton of trail miles these days. But I've overall been really, really impressed with the build quality and the materials that they're putting into their shoes. It was really cool to see them just take the feedback as well from athletes and consumers and redo their last and really kind of revamp their entire 2025 line. They've been very active with shoe reviewers trying to get feedback, really get the shoes in hand so people can experience them for themselves. So I think Craft is headed in the right direction. Again, stay tuned for future reviews from them here soon. And Nordlite Tempo, I think it is a really, really solid overall shoe. Like I said, for those who like a shoe with a little bit more pop. Now, if you've watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Please take a second, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video, and let me know in the comments what I can be doing better to make these videos more entertaining or educational, just more fun for each and every one of you. And as always, we'll finish out with a question, which is, have you tried a craft shoe? And if so, which one? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.